Hey folks, Ty Cohen here from KindleCashflow.com, and today I've got someone that I'm super excited to be interviewing. This is someone that I actually, I've been watching what he's been doing for a couple of years. He doesn't even know this. I've seen him in a few other spaces. And then we recently had a chance to talk maybe about a month ago or so, maybe just about a month ago. And I like to consider, sometimes I'm wrong, a really good judge of character. And instantly I said, damn, I like this guy right here. Like, there's something about him that is really cool. From a business standpoint, from an ethical standpoint, which means a lot to me. And then just from the standpoint of just being a cool person, like we talked about family, right? So that's very important to me. So some of the things that he talked about really resonated with me. As you guys know, I've got 4 kids and he's got a couple of kids. So my kids and my wife are everything to me. But before we jump into this, I want to remind you that we have some amazing prizes that we give away. So we've got some Apple AirPods. It's always kind of hard to see these things on video. We gave away a couple of sets of those. And then we've got the MacBook Airs, right? So we've got the silver one, and then we have a rose gold one here. I actually have one of these myself. And then we have the Apple Watches. So as you guys know, every week we're giving away those prizes, and there's 4 ways that you can actually win. The first is go in and subscribe. So whether you're watching us here on YouTube or if you're listening to the podcast, subscribe. First way that you can be entered to win. The second way is by going in and commenting on this video or the podcast, because I guarantee, listen, I don't even know what we're going to talk about yet, but I guarantee there's going to be knowledge bombs that are dropped, right? Because when I first spoke to this individual, I'm taking mental notes and I'm also taking notes. I'm trying to look cool and take notes at the same time, but he gave away so much amazing value that trust me, you're going to be able to apply something. So comment. The third way is like, and then the fourth and final way is share. So any of those actions enters you in to win some of these things as well. And then last but not least, take a look who's calling me, who's calling me. Can you see that right now, Tom?
I can see. I just see the Facebook. I don't see who actually.
Yeah, well, that's Facebook that's calling me right now.
Oh, it's Facebook that's calling you. Oh, I see. You're that important. That's great. Is that Zucks?
It's my Facebook. Yeah, I wish it was Zucks, right? It's my Facebook rep, my ad rep. But also, guys, if you go to KindleCashflow.com, you'll get a free copy of my new book, Kindle Publishing Secrets. This will get you started with creating digital real estate, even if you've never done anything before. So KindleCashflow.com. So now that I am out of breath and I've got this introduction going on here, this individual has been at the forefront of YouTube advertising for almost a decade now. I think it's about 7 or 8 years maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong. He is someone that has kind of put a spin on the way you approach YouTube advertising that is near and dear to my heart, because I come from the Dan Kennedy School of Things and direct marketing. And Dan always talks about ways to do things that are not the normal. So when we got involved with one another and I actually hired his company to start running my ads, I really enjoyed the process. So I want to bring along my special guest today, Tom Breeze, YouTube wizard, YouTube ambassador, YouTube extraordinaire. How many labels can I put on this thing, Tom?
Welcome. Keep going. I like it. It's perfect. Yeah.
So listen, like I said, I've been stalking you for a while. I know a little bit about, who you are, what you've done. Tell the people that are watching, like, who is Tom Breeze, other than this guy that's got this elegant look that comes from the UK? Who is he?
Yeah, well, my voice normally gives it away, the fact that I'm British.
Right.
People don't think, oh, you're from the deep south, right? No, so it doesn't tend to confuse too many people.
You're not from Tennessee, right? No, not at all.
No, exactly. And so who am I? I suppose if business-wise, I'm the YouTube ads guy. That's most people view me as that. We run an agency called Viewability. I do some consultancy with people. We do some rev share partnership type deals with agencies, or we teach people how to do YouTube. We specialize purely on YouTube ads. So that's kind of like the ad creative. So coming up with ideas and scripts and storyboards and how to edit your videos and really just make really powerful videos and the storytelling behind that. And then we also are experts in running those campaigns. So how to make sure the ad gets in front of the right people, how to target the right audiences, how to kind of structure your ad accounts in the right way to maximize your return on ad spend profitably, and so it scales as well. And so really that's kind of what we do now. But up until this point, it's been a funny old ride. I don't think any one of these entrepreneurial journey goes straight line, right? Like from okay, I woke up one day, and when I was at school, when I was like 6, I said, yeah, I'm gonna be a YouTube ads guy. Like, I don't think YouTube ads even existed at that point. And so the pathway for me was in a really short version of this. I kind of came out of college in the UK. So we kind of finished when we were 18, and then we decided if we want to go to university or not. And I did decide to, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I'd always been quite hard working at school. And so I did psychology, which was kind of like a mix of all the disciplines I'd learned so far, mathematics, a bit of science and chemistry that I was into, because there's a lot of brain kind of chemicals and that type of thing. So I was like, yeah, that kind of fits my thing. And it was exciting to me. I just fell in love with the subject, like absolutely. I was one of those people at university who absolutely loved what they did. Most of my mates were doing things like, geography or geology or something in business and things, and they were just like bored, stiff constantly. I was like, no, I love what I do. And so I was really lucky there and studied psychology. Then I continued on to do a master's in psychology as well. And again, I just absolutely loved it. And so I came out of my master's and I was in a bit of debt, like anybody who goes through university tends to come out with. And I'm lucky. I come from an entrepreneurial family. So my dad runs an accountancy firm. My brother runs a recruitment company. And I was like, okay, well, how do you start a business, guys? So I spoke to them, and they helped me. They kind of showed me what to do. And I started up my own business. And I thought, well, I knew psychology really well. And so I had like a psychology and sport background, because I used to play a lot of sport. And then I was going into London at the time, and I thought, well, I'll offer my skills, because I'd done lots of disciplines like NLP and hypnotherapy and timeline therapy alongside all my psychology studies. And so I could work with people. And I said in the business world, well, I can handle anxiety. I was only like 24, 25 at the time. So it wasn't like I can kind of become a life coach or anything. I knew nothing about life at this point. I knew how to party well at university, but that was kind of it.
That was it, right?
Yeah. And so I decided to help people with anxiety. And in London at the time where I was living, people would flock to that because they were like, I'm really worried about presentations and public speaking and meetings and interviews, like anytime you had to perform in a business setting. And it just took off. So it got off to a slow start, and then it took off, and I'll tell you why it took off in just a second. But that's what I did for many years. I kind of worked one-to-one with people, helping them overcome the fears of public speaking, basically.
Oh, wow.
But so what I did was, when I started the business, we had directories like Yellow Pages. We'd almost like have access to all the new businesses, and they would like approach you and say, hey, we can run your ad in the Yellow Pages. And so I was like, okay, cool. I took out a few ads across the whole of London, and I was expecting, as soon as those like new directories get sent out, I was expecting the phone to be constantly ringing. And obviously, I think everyone's been through this process. You do that and then nothing, like not even one call. And I was like, right, shall I hire some sales staff? Because that's probably a good idea with all these calls that are about to come in. Nothing happened. And so I spent a lot of money doing that. And I thought, well, that's not a good idea. And that was my bank loan basically to help me get started. So half of that had gone. And then in the deepest kind of moment, I was like, I'm gonna lose. I'm going to have more debt on top of my university debt. I really didn't want to do that. I had a leaflet come through my door, and it said I can have £30, which is about $45 US, to spend on Google advertising. I didn't even know what that was at the time. So I picked it up and I went online and typed in google.com. And I was like, well, this is the like little brother of Yahoo. So I was like, maybe there's something to be done here. So I plugged in my code and it gave me £30 credit. And it was so simple to use. I was just like, right, if someone types in how to overcome public speaking, my ad appears, and it's just a text ad. I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. So I used that as a keyword and traffic through to if someone clicked, they were coming to my website, which is pretty terrible, but it did the job in terms of there's a contact form there or my phone number. And I did it, and I had 2 phone calls on the first day that I did it. So I spent kind of my £30, and I had 2 phone calls, both of which turned into clients. I was like,
and this was much better than what you've seen with the Yellow Page ads, right? So far.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'd spent about 4,000 or 5,000 on Yellow Pages. Rookie mistake, like start slow and build up. That's like the rule now. But with advertising, I was like, right, £30, let's go spend it and see what happens. Kind of last throw of the dice type thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, closed 2 bits of business that made me £480 from £30 spent. So yeah, really good start. And I was like, well, maybe that was a fluke. I don't know. Did the same thing the next day. And I just continued that process, just kept on investing £30 every day, and more people just booking in. I was like, business is so simple. It's so easy. You just do this. This is, and I was just, that's what I thought business is all about. I was good at kind of attracting the people through. So on the phone, I'd talk to them, book them in, and then meet them kind of a week later or something for what I would call a breakthrough session. So we'd be together for 3-4 hours. And I'll guarantee the results and that type of thing. And everyone got really good results. So I knew my craft was good. And I filled up my diary, and my wife had, my at the time girlfriend, had retrained to become a teacher. And so she had these long holiday periods where she was like, "Oh, we can go and have fun and go to these, like going on holiday." And I remember like my whole calendar was booked out with clients throughout the whole of her holiday period. And I was like, I'm so sorry, I can't take any time off. So that was a sign of like really good success, like things were going really well. But I started to get some burnout because working one-to-one with people constantly and doing the same thing every day was tough. And I just didn't have the business knowledge at the time to hire other people. I just thought it had to be me doing everything. And so that was kind of my business. And then I was really lucky because I started to work out how I could help more people. So I would put people into workshops. I would say like, hey, come to a one-to-one, and then afterwards you'd have a free session to do a group workshop so you can practice your skills in front of other people that are also really nervous. And I did a business related one, like entrepreneurial related one, and it sold out really quickly. And the reason it sold out really quickly is because I decided to promote it with a video. It was the first time I had to go back to my parents' house and grab their camcorder and work out how to use it all and how to get it onto my website and things. I was probably one of the first people to have a video on their website in the UK, and it sold out really quickly. And I was like, wow, this video thing is really powerful. And then the people at that event came up to me during the lunch break and said, I want to learn how you do those videos because I want to put a video on my website.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, I can teach you that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that happened. I was like, well, people want this new service, which is me creating videos. And I was desperate to do something different and just help people overcome public speaking fears. Right. And the video on my website that I actually then did a video for the front page of my website. My conversion rates tripled. So I went from like about 7% of people that hit my website would contact me to then like 21% of people, 22% of people contacted me after that point. I was like, oh, wow, this is a game changer. This one video has performed ridiculously well. It like slashed the cost of my advertising. And it kind of gave me the evidence I needed to say, well, this whole video thing is massive.
Yeah.
So I started teaching people how to do the videos. Then I'd help them promote those videos on YouTube so they got more views, and kind of worked it out as I went along. And then I kind of partnered with a guy in the past, and he would be really good at the SEO aspect of getting those videos ranked on Google and YouTube. We're doing really, really well for clients, generating them loads of leads and business and cracking the YouTube game basically.
And these are free. These were free videos at that time, right? Just load a video to YouTube, not paid. Gotcha.
Exactly, yeah. So it was just purely like put the video that we created on YouTube, like a promotional type video, but put it on YouTube, and then make sure we got the keywords right, the title right, backlinks, all the sort of SEO activity that had happened in the past. And then the SEO world, I'm sure you remember, like just kind of crashed over the space of 6 months, where Google did all these updates of penguin updates and panda updates and hummingbird updates. It's just any animal they could think of, I think, just all these different updates. And it just changed the SEO game. And so all of our videos, and we had clients paying us a lot of money every month, all of them started dropping. And I was like, well, they're going to cancel their fees if we don't keep these rankings. And in the end, we just couldn't keep the rankings. Like the SEO world had changed too much, and we had a team, and it was kind of not working as well as it had been. And so with one of my clients, who I really got on with really, really well, I thought I can't lose that, because it's almost like a friendship relationship that I have with that client. And so I took my own money and I kind of worked out how to go back to my roots of like advertising. So when I learned how to run my first business running Google ads, YouTube ads was a new thing. And I was like, well, maybe that's a way to do it. So I took his video and I worked out how to run a YouTube ad for him. I spent my own money and sent traffic through. And I kind of saved the relationship, because I said to him, like, okay, cool. Are you still getting leads? I see lots of clicks going to your website. And I think you're getting loads of leads. How's it working for you? And he was like, yeah, these leads are great. And I was like, oh, because I can probably scale that up a little bit if you want me to. And he's like, yeah, go for it, go crazy. Because he was running like an events business, so he could just fill out more rooms and just scale up. And
so very few people are going to say, no more leads. That's it. Just give me 10 a week, right? That's
yeah, exactly. Yeah. One a week is fine for now. Yeah, exactly.
Right, that's it.
And they were converting, they were buying his stuff, they were signing up to things. And so I said, well, how much would you pay for a lead? And he did a few calculations, and he was like, well, look, if I give you £10 per lead, he'll make about £30, £40 per lead, the value to him. Right. I was like, okay, cool. Because for me, at that time, it was costing me about £3 to generate a lead for him. And so he was super happy, because every dollar that he would spend with me, he'd make $3 or $4. Yep. And for every dollar I spent, I would make $3 or $4. So it felt like a really good partnership. And we just scaled it like crazy. No one was advertising on YouTube at that time. It was just super easy to scale and go really aggressive. And so we did really, really well for his business. It was very localized just in the UK. So it wasn't like we went global just yet, but it was working really, really efficiently. And I never really looked back. Like with all those clients I had in the SEO world, I saved a load of those relationships by just creating videos and doing ads for clients. And I was lucky at the timing, I suppose, of how it all began, but we're performance through and through now. So we still have that relationship where we spend the money and clients pay for results. So it's a true partnership that we generate with clients, and we both win. Sometimes we lose. We're not kind of like 100% success rate, but we've just perfected that art, and we're still perfecting it every single day. So what makes a great video, and how to run the campaigns in the best way. And I mean, just before this call, we're talking about the fact that the CPMs, like the cost of advertising, have gone up massively during election time, and these sorts of things happen, right? Like there's always fluctuation. So how do you keep ahead of the field? And that's kind of a constant day in, day out activity for my whole team, but we just specialize in YouTube now.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think that one of the things that in your story that I take away from that is that, like, you guys are masters at pivoting, more specifically you, right? So you saw where the traditional version of videos wasn't working, SEO, and I went through that as well. Like Google had everyone in the industry on edge, right? Because it was, like you said, the Panther update, then the Blue Unicorn update and everything else. Yeah. And so there's a lot of people that you may have seen in our industry that kind of fell off, right? Like because of that, they weren't able to pivot and adjust and change. So it looks like that you were really great at that. So I'm big on Facebook ads. Like I'm huge on Facebook ads. We teach that in our community. But I think that in order to have longevity in anything, you have to, number one, be able to pivot, right? In the event that there's some type of a world event that happens, right? Like the elections or COVID or anything else that affects CPMs. The other thing is, I think that if you're only getting traffic in one way, I think that puts you in a very dangerous position. So how are YouTube ads different than Facebook ads? Because I'm going to be brutally honest here. I suck at YouTube ads, right? When it comes to advertising. So what's the difference there? And why do you think that someone who's already running Facebook ads should be coming over to YouTube as well?
Okay, yeah. So I think why they should come across to YouTube. I mean, I run a performance-based agency, so you don't have to come across. I like it when there's less advertisers because it makes me more money. So everyone can stay on Facebook if they want to. It makes no difference to me. But the reason why I think that YouTube is a great platform is because, so why should people move? Let's handle that one first. So I don't think anyone should move away from Facebook. I think that Facebook are going through a moment where they're getting to the point where like the cost of advertising is going to creep up, and then the best will survive, and then it'll kind of plateau. That happens all the time. It happened with Google Ads, happened on loads of platforms like that, and it'll continue. Like that will continue with Facebook. The same thing will happen to YouTube as well, and so it's a case of making sure that you are finding the eyeballs for the cheapest place, wherever that might be. So I'm hearing great things about Pinterest at the moment, for example. Wow. I don't know the strategy for Pinterest, but I'm hearing people are absolutely killing it with the right strategy. And so it's almost like, right, well, any platform that's going to provide you with customers cost effectively, people should be exploring. And I know it's daunting to move platform, but YouTube is the platform that's got a huge amount of scale, and it's different. Because with Facebook, everyone's fighting for access to the newsfeed when you get to Facebook, right? So you're going to be competing with everybody else that could be of interest to the viewer or the user. With YouTube, it's slightly different in terms of like, there's not one newsfeed. There's just endless number of videos that are out there that keep on multiplying. Like more and more content is being created all the time. And it will kind of like the new content gets most views, but there's a whole archive there that keeps on getting more and more views. So it's like the whole ecosystem is growing and scaling. Like the world of YouTube is getting bigger and bigger all the time, as opposed to some places like Google, which is just the results page, or Facebook is just the news feed. So YouTube's expanding. So I feel like it's got long longevity to it. But also it's got like the fact that it's like its partner is Google, right? So you've got all the intelligence of that Google platform at your disposal, which is amazing. And so you've got all this kind of targeting options available to you that are out there. It's where the world goes to watch video. But I mean, I think that it's as costs increase on any platform, you want to be looking and keeping an eye on the next platform and diversifying your traffic sources, of course. But the big thing that's the hidden impact of YouTube is the psychological impact of advertising on YouTube. So if I see a brand advertising on Facebook, I feel like, okay, cool. A brand that is pretty successful because they're advertising. That's kind of my gut unconscious thought that's going on. But then if you change it to like TV, if you were to watch a TV and you saw a company advertising in between programs on TV, at that point,
it's more impactful, right? Like,
oh, it's huge. You think like that's a brand that's going places. You know, you think that's a really established company, and it may not be, but that's your gut. Like it's called a heuristic. It's a shortcut, mental shortcut that you're just like, yeah, I'm happy to make that judgment call in terms of if I see someone advertise on TV, they've got a good company. Like it's not like it's a failing company. Then you think, you know what will save me? A TV ad. No, they're expensive, and you've got to make sure it's right. So YouTube is the closest thing you have to TV, and it's almost like the online version of TV. And so you're borrowing that mental shortcut when you advertise on YouTube. You have a different impact with your customers, and they don't forget you very quickly at all. If you have a good video and they watch it and they think that was cool, you get remembered like you're a big brand, even if you're not. And it might cost you it might cost you like 5 cents to get a video view in front of your ideal customer. So you're only advertising in very specific moments, but you can get in front of them and have the same impact you would as if you were to show them a TV ad, and you have a click to your website straight away as well. So I just love the platform itself. And then the other impact of it as well is that when you go to YouTube, you're going there typically with intent. Like, 3 major search terms that people have is like, they want to know something or do something or potentially buy something. And with Facebook, you're there because you're just, I don't know, community or just distracted or just want to see what's happening in your little ecosystem. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas YouTube is like you go there with intent. So it may not be as vast and you might not be able to spend as quickly on Facebook, but YouTube is like when you get in front of someone on YouTube, they're further down the buying cycle and they're ready to, they're kind of more in search mode. So you have this whole category of getting in front of people when they're looking for what it is you offer already. So it's not like you have a job to do to excite them and get them interested in your product. It's more that you're saying, it's like someone, if you had a physical store, it's like someone coming in the store and asking your sales rep questions. Much easier to sell those people than people that are walking past the store and you're saying, hey, come in here, come and have a look at these great products we've got. Yeah, that's kind of the difference, I suppose, with the psychology of advertising on YouTube.
Yeah, I think the credibility that it gives you as well is very impactful, as you said. So to give you an example, right? So my family and I, we watch TV sometimes at the end of the day, right? We'll get together, we watch TV, and we just subscribe to YouTube TV. So YouTube TV has a huge variety of things on there. We'll watch YouTube sometimes on the regular television, right? So we're watching YouTube TV as well as YouTube. It's the same experience as watching a regular TV, right? Broadcast television. And we kind of forget that this is YouTube that we're watching. And what I'm looking at it, I'm always looking at it from a marketer standpoint. So sometimes I'll even use like my family as guinea pigs, right? Don't tell them that. I got to say it pretty quietly.
Yeah.
But while we're watching YouTube on the physical television, I'm looking at commercials that are kind of considered commercials, but I'm like, these are just YouTube ads. Like, they may not realize that it's YouTube ads. Your market may not realize that those are just YouTube ads. Like little Johnny up the street can run these ads, but the perception that these are commercials, right, that are put out by a huge brand is impactful. The other thing that I notice is that more people are watching from their phones now. Like, and I had to get into the habit of this because I want to be like my consumer, right? And I noticed that children and teens and lots of adults now will watch full-length movies or YouTube videos that are 30 minutes or an hour long from their phone. And before I was like, how do you watch a movie from your phone? Like, that's insane. You've got to watch it on a television. But that's where your market is at now, and that's where the marketplace is going. So you want to be there, right?
Well, it's also like, so do you get like notifications on your iPhone where it says, here's your usage? And it says, you've been on social platforms for this long this week. And you're like, there's some glitch on my phone because I definitely haven't been on those platforms for that long this week. And it's like, we're unaware of our behavior most of the time. Like yesterday I was watching TV with the wife and she fell asleep in front of the TV. And, but it's not unusual for us to press, like we look at the time after watching something on Netflix and then we'll press, it's like a race to press the off button before the next episode begins. Cause you're like, I've got to get it off. Otherwise I'm not leaving for another hour. So you're going to race to press the off button. And then you kind of just pick up your phone just for a second. And before you know it, it's been another 20 minutes before you left the sofa. And that behavior, I hope, is not abnormal, but it's like, I think that everyone's doing that, but then gets locked into this, like, I started watching one thing, then I started with, and the average session duration on YouTube is like 40 minutes. So
are you serious?
Wow. Yeah. And so it's, you think like, and we've got ads, which is crazy, right? So normally people are thinking, right, an ad would be what, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. We've got an ad that's running that's 45 minutes in length and people watch it like all the way through. And you just think like, this is so different. Like all the rules of advertising are changing. Like I love reading all the kind of old stuff with Ogilvy and Claude Hopkins and kind of going through like what kind of technology they had at the time and how clever they were with it and how they understood what the creative mix would need to look like. And so I'm always trying to draw inspiration from that. And then I look at the kind of the level, like the playing field that we're working with. And it's almost like, okay, you can track absolutely everything. And now people are willing to watch a 45-minute ad. And you're like, okay, I don't know how to handle this. This is like different. This is way different than what it has always been like. So yeah, I think we're working in a space that's so exciting. And it means we can kind of really engage with our viewers in a completely different way and build experiences for them. Like that's how I tend to look at how we run YouTube ad campaigns, is to say, yes, we have the ad, but what sort of experience do you want to show to people? Like, do you want to lead with opportunity or some sort of demonstration of your product, or should we show them like testimonials and trust? It's a choice in the storytelling that you go through that you think, right, what sort of message do we want to craft? Right. And then once we've got that down, you see how it performs, and you might just knock it out of the park, or it might fall flat on its face. But as long as you're going through that process of working out what works and what doesn't work, then you end up finding winners, and then you scale those.
You find that sweet spot and you scale it.
Yeah.
One of the movies that I watched recently, it's more of a documentary, is the Social Dilemma. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've watched it as well. Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so intriguing. Like I actually plan on going in and watching it again because it talks about all the things that Facebook and YouTube and Google has done to like suck us in, right? And create these reverse habits. So that works in our favor. I'm always thinking again from a marketer standpoint, like, oh my God, this is terrible as a consumer for me to fall victim to what we're doing. And I know about this stuff, right? And I'm still sitting here in front of my phone for 30 minutes or 45 minutes. But as the person that's running ads, it's like the best thing ever because these companies are doing everything in their power to make sure that you're getting the views and to make sure that people continue to watch, right? And then you hire folks like Tom over at Viewability to help you to craft your content the right way. So I want to talk about that because I gotta admit, man, like I just hired your company and I've always been used to creating ads in this format, right? I'll grab my phone and hey, this is Ty Cohen, da, 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 and I'm running them. So I hired you guys and there's 3 parts to it, right? You've got like act 1, act 2, act 3. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, oh my God, I've been doing this thing the wrong way the entire time because I could see how there's the conscious and there's the subconscious that comes into play in that initial act, right? You're drawing them in out, and I want to talk about that and how you actually came up with that. But then I can also see that it becomes so easy because once I have like my first act down, I can, and then I've got my third act down, that middle piece I can like just flip that out so many different times or vice versa, right? How do you guys like let's talk about that. How did you come up with that concept of act 1, act 2, act 3 and why break it down like that?
Yeah, so I've been doing that. I've been creating ads for 7, 8 years or something on YouTube specifically. And I think I've read pretty much every copywriting book, trying to take notes and trying to understand it and understand like the principles behind it all as well. Like, why are we saying this thing at this point? Why did we not say this earlier? And do we need to say that? And could we have said it in a better way? And all that type of thing. And I went back to like all the stuff we've created, and we've done some ads for some big brands and some cool products, and feel really proud of the results we've got. What I did about a year ago was to go back to like first principles, like break it down and basically be like a scientist to say, what is it that we can take as evidence that this is something that's worthwhile adding? So like anytime you add social proof, it improves results. Okay, cool. So we need, what is social proof? Is it like testimonials? Is that the best form? It's like, that's the easiest form. Great. Okay, cool. We have to kill the testimonials. Done. That's going to be important. And then be like, well, when do those fit in? Do they go right at the start of the video or do they go at the end of the video? And so it was almost like
most impactful, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, what are we assuming that is completely wrong sometimes? Like Elon Musk talks about this. Not that I want to compare myself to Elon Musk. I'm British. I keep myself humble here.
We'll turn into Tony Stark. How about that?
Fine. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. I'm like Elon Musk, but I just fly everywhere. It's just like that's it. Yeah. But so he talks about like first principles of like breaking it down, because when he was like doing the battery for Tesla, he was saying like, well, they're really over expensive, but no one really ever questioned the cost of a battery. It was just, that's what it was. But then if you break it down to its raw ingredients and you go to the marketplace, you're like, I can buy all those ingredients much cheaper. And now if I put them together in the factory in our special way, then it's so much cheaper. It's like a third of the cost. And that's just the first iteration. You can be like, right, we can do that again and again and again and again. And you all of a sudden you're like, if you follow the first principles, you kind of always tend to get a better result. And so I kind of broke it down and said like, what are we doing here with a video ad? Actually, like, what's the purpose of this? And how do people's brains work? That's kind of, and I went back to my psychology roots as well. So I realized that we were missing a huge thing, which is where previously we would focus on script first. To be like, what are we saying? What's the story? But then if you think like, if I was to ask you to remember an ad, it's not like you would come back to me and say, oh, do you know what they said in the ad? They said this. Like, you never, well, it's very rare that you remember something like that unless they said something so groundbreaking that you remember it. But it's almost like you say, oh yeah, they said something about, what was it again? You can't remember exactly the words. So
you're thinking about it from a copywriter standpoint initially.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I was thinking, right, I come from a copywriting background, and I come from that's where I feel like anytime you're creating messaging, people instantly think, copywriting.
Yes.
And I was like, that's completely wrong. Because the way your brain is wired is not to process language. Like we do that, like it's a kind of a conscious effort. It takes more energy to kind of comprehend what people are actually saying, because you've got the words, the way they're said, the body language of people. There's a lot more in terms of communication than just the words. I mean, like Albert Mehrabian said he didn't say this, but it's been misquoted so many times, but I think it was like 7% of like communication is the words we choose, and it's 38% is the tonality, and then the rest of it, 55% is your body language.
Right. Yeah.
It's completely misquoted all the time. But the idea is that the words are just words, and if you read something, it's so different than if someone wants to read it to you over the phone, because you're like,
or text, right?
Yeah,
that's why
exactly,
text can get misconstrued. Yeah.
100%, exactly, yeah. And so then it's like, and then people will say, well, it's not what you said, it's the way you said it. That's like the tonality. And then it's like, if you have a body language included within that, you're saying like your body language, if you see someone approaching you before they even talk, you know what sort of mood they're in. You just immediately get that, right? And so then you're like, okay, that's going to preface how I'm going to receive this information. And so I was thinking about all this and thinking like, why are we even bothered about the script? Because no one remembers what the script is, and I don't think it's that impactful. If you're reducing communication down to a page with text on it, fine, I get it. But then even if you were kind of on a sales page and it was just copywriting, everyone skims through it. No one reads it and says, I'm going to read this in order, slowly, take it in like sentence by sentence, unless it's ridiculously good copy. Some people can make you do that because you just don't want to miss anything. But most of the time you say, I'm on the sales page, scroll down to the price point, watch the testimonial videos, and then scroll back up and say, all right, what are they talking about again? Right. You know what I mean? Because you have the luxury of doing that.
Only marketers, only us really will read it, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, so you're kind of writing it for no one, basically, right. Unless it's a marketing audience you're trying to get in front of. So I was like, okay, well, if the script doesn't really even matter, what does matter? And then I thought like, every video that I've ever watched and remembered, it's been visual. It's been the visuals, and something you don't remember that it really impacts you is the audio as well. Like if there's music or there's sound effects, that type of thing, that really makes a big impact to you as well, but it's not quite so simple to appreciate that. But it made me realize that like, okay, visually, that's what I'm taking. If I try and remember an advert from my childhood, if it's got a great song, I might remember it. So in the UK, we have like the Milky Way advert that's been around from the 80s, and it was like the red car and the blue car had a race. It's just a song talking about this chocolate bar. But I think everyone of my age group would remember that song in the UK, because that's like just, you wouldn't be able to remember every single word, but you'll be able to hum the tune, and you'll be able to remember some of the visuals. And that's kind of like in the like when TV first came out, it was like very much like jingles. It was songs alongside some visuals, and because that's what the old guys like knew what we remembered, and they're trying to get everyone in the household to kind of remember the song and sing it almost along with the TV. And so what we've done is we've realized that like, okay, people are just seeing the video, and that's more powerful than anything else. Like what you show in the video is insanely important. And it kind of so Masterclass, the company that get all celebrities to do like a training.
Gordon Ramsay and I think Steven Spielberg is doing the class now.
Yeah, they're all kind of amazing people. You're like, oh, I've got to get that one. Like it's such a cool brand. And the Gordon Ramsay one in particular, funny you should say him, he does a cooking one. And I said, oh, I love this ad. It's such a cool ad. And then I put it through a tool called Descript, which just like translates transcribes the video immediately. Great tool. And I put it in, and he says at the start of the video, watch carefully. So that's like the first thing he says right at the very beginning. And he doesn't say anything else for 23 seconds. And it's just visuals of knives cutting food, like chopping food, and then it's like sizzling in a pan, and then you're putting things together, and you hear Gordon like go, oh, and like moaning about how good the food is and all this other stuff. And you're seeing it, it's beautiful. And you're like, I want to learn how to become a chef just because of those 20 seconds. It's just so good that you think, I can do that. And then he starts talking about like, he's released another masterclass training. And that kind of shook me again to be like, of course, this is so obvious. It's like, nothing even needs to be said sometimes. And it's more impactful just to show what's happening. So
and you're getting the experience, not to cut you off, but now you talk about that one, and I'm thinking about that ad, right? And I like food, right? I'm not necessarily into cooking much, but as I'm watching that, I can like taste what's happening there, right? I can see myself as being this. So here's what happens. I can taste what's happening there, and I can also put myself in a position where I'm like, oh my God, imagine if I took this, I can make dinner for the wife, right? And she would think I'm like amazing. So all of these things are going through my head like in a matter of seconds. While not thinking that they're trying to sell me, I'm thinking about the outcome.
And that's it. That's what we're looking to do. So when we look at an offer, we're looking to say, right, well, what's the benefit of that offer? That's one thing. But then we quickly look at like, right, that benefit, what identity and what desire does it really drive in you? So what you just said there is like, you saw the food being prepared or chopped and cooked and like the dish coming together. And immediately you said, I can be an amazing husband for my wife. Basically, right. I can be I can put food in front of her that she's going to love, and you're going to get like husband points immediately, type thing. And that's identity and desire. Like your desire is like, I want to provide for somebody else. I want to like have that feeling, whatever that feeling generates for you, which might be love. It might be connection. There's a lot of different desires that you can draw from, but there are a finite number of desires that people have. There's probably about 25 or so, and it's iterations of those. But it's like an artist dealing with color. There's only a certain number of colors. Like it's not like Van Gogh works with more colors than we've got access to. It's just that he did it better, right? And so we're looking at these desires and saying, right, which one do we want to pick? So there would be yours, like love and connection would be a really important desire for you. And you think like, well, that's unconnected from being a chef or cooking good food. And it's like, it's really not, because the desire doesn't change. Like that's a core desire that you'll have. And any product that promises you the fact that you can be a great husband as a result of this product will probably shout out to you. It'll probably draw you in unconsciously. You don't know it, but you'll immediately go there. You'll be like, yeah, I can imagine how this product will help me have a great husband and deepen my love and my connection with my wife. And then any products can be sold to you in that same way. And so it helps you also sometimes develop an identity. So either to yourself or to other people, you say, I'm a great dad, I'm a great husband. That's really important to me.
And it helps to solidify it, right? So now by me going in and signing up for this masterclass, right, and taking these classes, not even taking them, but signing up, right? Because getting someone to consume, that's a whole nother
precisely right. Yeah, you know it.
Fear, right? But signing up, right? Just entering the credit card number, we now associate that with the identity that we want to become, and it helps to solidify that, right? So
exactly. And so money kind of goes out the window at this point, because you're starting to think like, how much that masterclass cost, because I'm paying to become a better husband.
Right.
Like, is there a price point you can put on that? Like maybe not. Like if they said it's going to be $5 for the masterclass, you're like, bargain. I would have paid $100, if not more, because I'm paying for this end result of me being a great husband. And that's part of it. And so once we've got the offer and we've got the benefit and we've got the identity sorted, we've got the desire deep down from people, we then look at that identity and say, right, this product helps you get this feeling and this desired emotion, and it helps you become this type of person, which is your identity. That type of person, what like group does that person fit into? Now, it doesn't always work out easy to do this. But let's say, for example, you were you're thinking like, I want to.
So can we use some of my examples, right? So because for our ads, we shot And I thought this was brilliant. So you're like, hey, shoot ads that include the family, right? Shoot ads where you're outside, you're in the space of freedom. So my audience are entrepreneurs. They're people that want to build out businesses. They want this passive recurring income and the freedom of finances and time that comes with that. So when I saw that in the script, I'm like, why didn't I think about this? Like, I'm a genius. Why didn't I think about that? You got to give yourself some credit, Tom, or else no one's going to give it to you. But why didn't I think about this like decades ago? Because it seems so simple. So can we talk about that? Like shooting in the woods, right? We've got this amazing trail that's over here. Shooting with the family, my kids in the back in the kitchen, and I'm just shooting the videos. And how does that work into the person, the end user that's watching this? The fact that
exactly.
So with business.
So once we've identified that that we know what that desire is, it's not always like that's the sort of thing I would sit with for a little while. Entrepreneurs, it's kind of the same route every single time. People who want to become entrepreneurial and want to grow their own businesses, they want time and freedom and money. They want those types of things. If you're a marketer, that you probably want some level of like same thing, but you definitely want recognition. Like you want a bit of fame associated to that as well. You want to be like, I want my clients to love me. I want people to realize that what I did was great and special. And so there's a big element of that for certain people. And so it's understanding that desire to begin with. And once you got clear on that, it starts to paint the picture of the video that you're going to create. Because now all of a sudden, like for you, for example, we're looking at freedom. Now, if people have freedom, what do they think they're going to do with that freedom? Well, they may go and do things they don't normally do. They would go and like spend more time with the family. They may go, and these are kind of like complete opposites of what most entrepreneurs have most of the time. They say, I started this business and I thought it was going to give me more freedom. If anything, it's done the opposite thing now, where I'm locked in and I'm now stressed more than ever before because I can't pay my bills, and it's got to come together soon. And all I did this for was to get more time with the family and freedom and more money. And so it's kind of this desire that they've always had. And you're showing them that promised land almost by the visuals. You're saying, so we have you in a video with your family, spending time with them. For people like, yeah, that's what I've always wanted. That's what I desire deep down. That's what I want. So we know that that's like a great starting point to say, like, if we show that in the ad visually, the viewer won't know why, but they're going to be drawn in. Like Gordon Ramsay, same thing. Like, if he was to be cooking with his wife, for example, or with his kids, just for a shot, you'd be like, I want to be doing the same thing there. Like that would have been more obvious to you. You had to piece the puzzle together to be like, I could do this for my wife. But if you had shown that just briefly, having fun with his family whilst cooking, you would have been like, okay, cool. Now all of a sudden I'll pay $200 for that course because I'm buying a new outcome. I'm buying like great time and great memories with the family, and I have freedom to do that as well. So it's you kind of like, you want to show the end result in terms of the emotional end result that's not obvious, but people don't think in obvious ways. We don't think logically. That's the uncovering for myself, I suppose, I had a little while back, was like, we're all buying off emotion. We don't even know what those emotions are most of the time. And we can't explain it with copy. We can't, we see it and we're like, yeah, that's what it is. That's what I want. But we don't even know why we want things. So that's a really difficult thing to go by. But that's why I wanted to break it down and say, right, that emotional desire, once we know what that is, we show that. We kind of create a scene of Act 1 to be like, we got to show that emotion that people want. So we have to show you in a freedom situation. So they basically say, I want to be you. I want to have your identity. And I want to feel the same way as you're feeling in that scene. Like you're with your family having time and having fun. Like that's what they want to feel as well.
Just screwing around. Yep. Kids laughing and smile on my wife's face, right? And
exactly.
That's
and it's that takes half a second to show to someone and they're in, you know. You don't have to do it. You have to explain it to someone. Like how, like imagine if you had to say like, yesterday I was with my family and we're having, and my wife was smiling, by the way, and like you're going to spend like 15 seconds trying to set it up and it just won't be impactful at all, because it's like people have to process and consciously listen to what you're saying in order to understand it and then have to visualize it themselves. It's like, that's too difficult for someone to do. And so we show that really quickly. So the mantra that you've got to think of for Act 1, like this first part of the video, to grab them in unconsciously, is to say, you want to start off with showing someone, like the viewer needs to think to themselves, I want to be that person doing that thing and feeling that emotion. So the emotion and the identity we've talked about already, but the thing they're doing is sometimes very closely connected to the desire. So like spending time with the family. But once, let's say, for example, you become an entrepreneur and you become successful, you will become part of a status group of successful entrepreneurs, whatever that is, like as a group, like a tribe, like I'm one of those people now. I fit into that gang or that tribe or that group. I'm in the group now, so to speak. Whether it's fiction or fictional group, or whether it's like actually a real thing, there'll be a group that they feel part of, like a belonging. That will share certain values, like they'll believe in certain things that other people won't. So there'll be successful entrepreneurs will believe and stand for things that maybe like the unsuccessful entrepreneurs haven't yet discovered sometimes.
Yeah. And it's the different way of thinking, right? That you have with that belief as well. Yeah.
Exactly. And so once you understand like that status group that you become part of, the values that status group share, you then start to become very aware of the behaviors that successful entrepreneurs would be doing, like the things they get up to. Literally, like what do successful entrepreneurs do? They spend time with the family. They get time to explore their own passions. They get to goof off whenever they want.
A little bit more, right? They may have,
and exactly.
Attach like the material things to it. Maybe they have a better house, or they have the car of their dreams, or bills come in the mail and it's not a concern to them. So there's all of these things that are attached. Yeah,
exactly. And then you can do it into the minutia of clips, for example. So like. So we've got a video coming out soon where, just to emulate that thought, we've got someone like leaving the house and they leave their phone behind. Like, I don't want to handle any calls today, and they just leave. And it's like, oh, only successful entrepreneurs can do that. And it's just a quick moment. Like you can show that visually in a video. Like as someone leaves the house, like, I don't want to handle any calls today. Leave the phone there and move. And it's not obvious, but you just think to yourself, if you're not in their shoes, you're like, I would love to be able to do that.
No attachment, right? And that's like the freedom. I can imagine like just having someone get up, right? Having someone get up in the morning, and then not having to do the normal things like go to work, right? But just getting up and saying to their significant, hey, what do you want to do today?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So and you can contrast that. So you could be like, because you're precisely right. You put your day in the life of that person as your viewer, basically, and say, what would they be doing that a successful person, a successful entrepreneur wouldn't do? So maybe the sort of thing like they wake up with the alarm. Like, successful people don't have to do that. So you just wake up when you want to wake up, and you wake up in a cool way, and then you wake up in a relaxed manner where you have your routine in the morning. Whereas like the unsuccessful entrepreneur might be like panicking to get to a meeting on time that's going to be a really crappy meeting anyway type thing. And so you can kind of, the best way to do it is, imagine if you were to tell a joke to someone, like how bad it actually really gets, and laugh about it and make notes of like how bad it really gets. Because there's going to be something in there which will spark off an idea to be like, oh my word, never does a successful entrepreneur ever do that. That's like only the people that are really struggling to do that.
Yeah.
Now you have to be careful with how deep you go into that, because it can get very like dicey how you might want to handle some of that stuff. But I root around in like the worst kind of thoughts mentally. Like when it's been really tough for me, I'm like, oh my word, I used to do this, and that was such a waste of time, and it's so stupid that I used to do that. Be like, that's great evidence for myself to be like, I've moved on from that now, and that's great. But it's still within me to have that sort of like, it's not like any of us are alien to any of these concepts. We all been through it, but it's more a case you can highlight those things, and you can almost make a joke of it to the point where it's like, when something you made as a joke, it's going to be good.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And understanding that there's so many people that still go through it. Like I look at my wife's our my offices here, and then we've got like our front porch. And one of the things that she does every morning is she'll come out, she'll make her coffee, and she'll go sit on the front porch. And I've seen her do it a ton of times, but every time I'm just like grateful for the fact that she has the freedom to do that. Whereas before it was rushing in the morning and where's my keys and this and that, to go off to work. So to be able to have put my business in that position where I can now watch my wife enjoy her morning, right, in an unstressful way. So I can see like something like that can be a clip, right, if we can compact it.
Yeah, that would work ridiculously well as a Facebook ad. Just as a little message for people. Like, so let's say, for example, you're sitting where you are right now, and you had your iPhone, and you said you kind of almost leant back, so you do like a little selfie video, and you're like, hey, quickly have a look at this, and you have to lean back and you show your wife having her coffee in the morning, type thing. You say, this is what it's all about. Like for me, it's like I see my wife out there. She's sitting there having a coffee. She doesn't even know herself how long she's going to be out there for, but she does this on a regular thing. She loves it, and that's like, you might say like and that's the beauty of the situation I'm in now, is that we do have she has that freedom to do that, which wasn't always the way. But the thing that unlocked it was this method right here, and then you can switch to your laptop and you can talk about like a method that kind of really helped you out when you first got started with your business, or when it was like really struggling to bring it to like fruition. But it's like, that's like a little moment where people get a little insight into your life, but they think like, hey, I want to be Ty, I want to be that person doing that thing, feeling that emotion, like feeling proud of what you've just built. And then people will be like, okay, I'm hooked in, I want to have that same experience that you just had.
And now the thing becomes the vehicle. Right? The thing becomes the vehicle, right? So let's say Kindle Cashflow. Kindle Cashflow becomes the vehicle to get there, right? So
precisely.
I think that's it, Tom. You just gave me my idea, and we can end this interview now. I'm gonna go and put this.
I'll send you my invoice for my consultancy time. Yeah,
that's it.
So like, as soon as you've done Act 1, then Act 2 then becomes like. So this is when I was breaking down video. I was like, right, I've got to get people unconsciously wanting what I have before I ever start talking about the product.
And that's Act 1 right there. That's just for clarity for the person that's watching this or listening to that. Getting them unconsciously hooked, right, by doing all of these subtle things and then including them in your videos. That's that first step. Now he's going into Act 2.
Yeah, exactly. So get them drawn in to the point in which they don't even know what they want, what it is that video is offering. They don't even know what's to offer just yet, but they're like, I want in. And that can take like, you can do that in 2 seconds sometimes. You can do it in 5 minutes if you really want to. But you're painting a picture, and there'll be copy that goes with that, like your scripts that will go with it. But you're painting that picture. But the beauty is then, let's say, for example, we go with that video we just talked about with your wife having a coffee out the back on the porch. When you do that, when you show the video, you're going to see your beautiful garden, and that's going to show wealth very unconsciously. Like, people won't pick up on that, but they'll know that, like, okay, it looks like you're doing really well for yourself. Things like that are just very, just by association and things. And it's just natural in that environment. You're going to have to, by just turning on the camera, that's going to be the case. So you kind of, all these like hidden messages that will be in that video from the very beginning, you draw them in. And then when you kind of like, you've got your copy around it, so what you say, but when you write that script now, you're kind of looking and being like, okay, cool. This is what I'm meant to be saying if I was doing a copywriting course, but I'm showing 75% of that instantly in a video. And now what I would say would be completely different, because I've shown all of that, and I can almost have a different thing to say that just builds rapport with the viewer. Like, you're like, hey, look, if you want to know how this all came about and you want to do it for yourself, listen in, because I'm going to show you right now. Like, that's all you need to say. Like, those words, if you were to write them down, wouldn't actually make any sense. But when you show the visuals around it, then it all of a sudden makes so much sense. So it's visuals first. And in Act 1, it's unconscious, draw them in. And then Act 2 would be where you start appealing to people's conscious mind. So we've got them unconsciously wanting it. You've got their attention by doing that. And then in Act 2, we transition to talking a lot more logically. So at this point, we're talking about things like your credibility, the product itself, or the method. We're talking about like how the action plan actually works. So hopefully like a 3-step method that you've got that people can follow along with. It's like it's almost could be like printed out on a one-page PDF, for example, and see it in action, like a real roadmap or something. And so they feel like trust in the fact that not only do they believe in what it is that you've managed to achieve and how you've done it, but they feel like they could do it themselves as well. So logically,
the simplicity of it.
Yeah. So logically, I think, okay, this has got credibility. There's an action plan here, and then the other elements of that would be building trust at that point as well. So it'd be like, okay, cool. Here's other people that have also taken this path or taken this PDF and done it themselves, and this is how we go about going and doing that type of thing. So you would see other testimonials and things, but testimonials are really key to make sure they're right, because it's not impactful to someone say, yeah, Ty's great, it's been brilliant, I love this thing. That will only get you so far versus someone who says, who looks and is just like the same age, gender, etc. To the viewer. If they're like identical, I feel like that looks like me, almost like that makes them feel comfortable in the fact that like other people just like me are doing this. And then that person needs to say
themselves in that position, right? They could,
there's similarity.
Yeah,
precisely. And so they say like, hey, that looks just like me. And then in that testimonial, we kind of need them to say things like, so I saw this ad from Ty a while back on YouTube. That would be ideal to have that if you're running a YouTube ad. And they say, and he was showing me this method and I was really skeptical. But then I got it and I used it for a couple of months, and my word, look at this result. And then they show their result, like some sort of like the end result that you're promoting as well, like that claim that you've got, like if you do this, you will get this result. They've got to say, I got that result by just following along. I went up to, did his webinar, learned all about it, applied it, and it actually works. Here's my proof. And he said, if you want to, if you're ever thinking about doing it, do it. It's amazing. And that's the end of the testimonial. Then you get a couple others. But then what you're really doing is you're selling to the viewer, like they took exactly the same path as you've just started. You saw the YouTube ad as well. And this is what they went through. They joined this webinar, they applied this thing and it made it work. And they're thinking, well, I'm already taking that journey. I'm already on the path to starting that process.
I've got a few steps in already. And I think the brilliance in that is the congruency too, right? So if we're sticking with what I just said, right, as far as my wife being there and we're filming that, there's that congruency where I'm like, hey, this is the thing. And now you've got other people, the social proof, who are saying, this is the thing, this is the result, right? It's congruency. It's more than just me saying it. It's more than me just saying, or you just seeing an ad, right? And it's for the best steakhouse. And they're saying, we're the greatest, we're the best. But then if I come along and I said, hey, Tom, we just went to, Mickey's Steakhouse. They are the best, right? Like we went there and dude, the steak was so amazing. The next day I put it in a microwave and it was still good, right? Like that's...
Don't put steak in the microwave. You need to watch more Gordon Ramsay videos, I think. Yeah.
Right.
So you would choose a testimonial there. You might be like, so if I wanted to appeal to you in knowing that you're big into your love and connection with your wife, just because you mentioned that earlier, of course, I might be saying like, okay, the testimonial we want to show is saying like, oh, I took my wife there the other day and she's the hardest person to please in the world, but she absolutely loved it. She thinks I'm the best now, and she's always going to listen to my opinion when we go to restaurants. And then it's like, okay, cool, you've established that that's the identity and the desire that all the other people want as well. So you want to have like that testimonial tie in nicely with the desires and the behaviors that the people are doing, and then that leads you on to the last piece of the video, which is the call to action. So it's like saying, go do this right now, keep it super clean and easy, like people know exactly what to do, nothing unusual, and so they click and they go to the website and do the thing you want them to do. But yeah, as a package, as a whole, like we want to make sure that it's concise as possible. So like the best way to make a really long script really concise is just show it, do the visuals behind it. They say, okay, if we show that, we don't need to tell people about that, and that takes like good couple of minutes out of this ad, and then the beauty of it is once you've got like act 1, act 2, act 3 and you kind of feel comfortable with it, the greatest thing is you can interchange those pieces really easily. So you can put loads of different intros on the video, you can test which one works best, and then you can leave it with act 2 and act 3 that you had before, and that still works really well. So it's kind of like mixing all the psychology stuff we've been talking about with the different storyboards and the scripts but then mixing it with like what actually has to happen with advertising, because you need to have different intros and different kind of versions in order to make sure you've got enough to split test. And then once you've got a message that works really well, just go rinse and repeat it with loads of different scenes. And you know the story each time, but it's just a different setting, and it just keeps on working. And so it gives you that consistency and stability that everyone wants when it comes to advertising. And yeah, we're just seeing that now we do video ads in that way. It's just picked up. Like we were already doing really well, but now it's like, right, we have much more certainty about getting the right results for lots of different businesses that want to advertise on YouTube.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And, you know, for me, that was part of the fun of it, right? Was just shooting these different variations at the very beginning and just getting creative with it. So for the person that's watching this, right? Because when I first started shooting videos, even now, actually, to be honest with you, anytime I get in front of a camera, I feel like I'm gonna spontaneously combust sometimes.
That'd be a great video.
Yeah, that'd be insane, right?
I'm on fire.
The stick rate for that thing is insane. But they want to see what's gonna happen. What's the outcome? So for the person that's not comfortable, right? Like it took me being in front of this thing hundreds of times to get okay with it. Any tips for that person that's watching this that has never shot a video before, or that is just really, you know, nervous when they get in front of a camera?
Yeah, when we all start there, don't we? I think that we all kind of get in front of the camera. I still have a little bit of it today. Like the best thing you can do, and I used to teach fear of public speaking, so like I used to go through a lot of it, but like if it was like a deep anxiety, then you can work with some sort of performance coach to actually help you through that process. Gotcha. And I always think it's good to kind of throw yourself into different scenarios anyway, but it is like a public speaking. If you've ever given a best man speech, or if you speech at a wedding or at work or whatever, the first 2 minutes is the most daunting. You get through those, and it's almost like you can't pull you off stage at that point. It's like you're into your zone, you know your stuff. You're like, hey, I'm going really well now. And then it's like, oh, I'm coming to the end of my presentation. I'm kind of enjoying this now. Right. And so what's the best thing to do is just book it in, get a videographer with you. And anyone who's a good videographer, and I'm not saying like good in terms of professional, but just they've done it enough. They're actually really good at setting you at ease. But the best thing to do is just do it. And then you'll be amazed at like if you did it for 10 minutes and the videographer was like, that was good. Okay, try it this different way. And they kind of coach you a little bit. What you end up realizing is that all that anxiety disappears because you're already in the process then. It's like you worry about it beforehand, and then you're like, okay, how did that come across? Like, really good. Just do it like this. And you're like, now you're into the process, and all of a sudden you're shooting really, really good videos. And so it's all case just getting going. But I like it when someone else is there to give you feedback, because if you do it by yourself, then you never get the feedback, and you never get it just doesn't work smoothly. So it's a case of just doing it, and it's amazing how good it can become. But the more you're yourself, the better. So the way I try, and it's not easy to do that, of course, but the way I try to imagine it is to say, right, when these words that you've written, you've practiced in front of a mirror, and you've changed them a number of times to just make it feel like more like you, so you feel really comfortable with it. Like learn your script, because it will save you so much time when it comes to the actual video day, so to speak, when you're going to film the video. But in the UK, we kind of we go to the pub a lot. It's just the thing that we do. It's our pastime. We like going to the bar, but our pubs are like, you go there are not many people there, and it's like you're sitting in front of a fire. It's like, if you can imagine like the quintessential UK scene, that actually exists. It's quite cool. So it's like going to a country pub. And,
yeah. Like, have you ever seen the movie Deadpool? And that,
yes.
Yeah, that's what I think of.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So it's almost like it is like that.
Right.
And so if you went to a pub with a friend of yours, and they brought a friend, there'd be that setting where it's like intimate, but it's a friend of a friend. So it's like, they're going to be warm, and it's going to be like, you're going to have fun. Otherwise your friend wouldn't have brought you two together. Right. But it's almost like there's a level of not professionalism, but there's a level where that social status sits. And you would talk to them in a certain way, like, oh, nice to meet you. It'd be polite. And you wouldn't dive into your deepest, darkest stories immediately. You'd wait for a little while before you get into that stuff. But that's kind of like the the way that I recommend people be on camera is like, it's a friend of a friend. Imagine you're talking to a friend of a friend, and how would you talk to them? Because it's a bit more you. It's definitely you as your identity on camera, but it's a bit more like of a elevated you, a bit more of like a kind of a U plus one. That's what I tend to call it. So it's a you with another level of energy on top, and it's surprising how much energy you need actually for video. So if you are just like your normal self talking on video, it just doesn't come across very well. So like right now, I'm much more animated than I was actually speaking to you one-to-one. If you're sitting directly in a sofa in front of me, I have to elevate my energy. Otherwise, even if I am feeling like I'm giving energy off, it doesn't come across to the viewer, and they can feel it's a bit boring. So go for it. Just like,
so you want heightened energy, right? You want that, not like a madman, but you want, because one of the things I tend to do is I'll drink like Pepsi or something with caffeine in it before, sometimes to get my energy up, because I know that I'm not the most when I'm on camera. So you've got that smile on your face. Hopefully I'm not solidifying that. You're like,
Sure, not that much of a madman. Yeah, sure. No.
So, right, you don't just so Tom, so these videos, they don't have to be long, right? Because I know we talked about Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and someone's head who's watching this, they're probably thinking, wow, I've got to shoot this 45-minute long video. How long are these? What do you find is a good length?
So I just did the training actually, and I showed how like there's a 15-second video that has 3 acts in it. It's not produced by us at all, but it shows the 3 acts perfectly. It sells like a shampoo. And the shampoo is like of a guy, starts in him in a kind of cubicle, but it's like a wooden cubicle in the middle of the Irish countryside, and there's a stream flowing by, and it's a really beautiful meadow, but it's just a shower in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And so that's Act 1, like a bit surprising, and he's whistling to himself, and you can see his feet are really muddy as well. And so it's kind of
interrupt.
Yeah, but it appeals to like, what the hell's going on there? But it feels like the feet are really muddy, and and he's in the shower, so he's using some sort of kind of shampoo, obviously, or body wash, and it appeals to your sense of adventure, because you're like, this is in the Irish countryside, it's beautiful, and it looks like he's being active because he's got loads of mud splattered all up his legs, and you're like, that's all you can see, sort of thing. So like, a bit of an odd start. That's about a second. You see it just zooms in a little bit into the legs, and the soap on his trickling down the legs, and then it cuts to what he must have been doing just an hour ago or something. And for about 10 seconds, it's of him and his friends running up a mountainside, and kind of clambering over things, him picking up his mates, helping him out. And it's like he's leading them to the top of this mountain. And then I think the messaging behind it was something like, when there's days that you want to Instagram, but we really just don't need to, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's like living that adventure and having that fitness level and having fun with your friends and just living like a different life that we'd all love to live. Like, it really appeals to that sense of adventure and exercise. And he's at the top of the mountain. It's like there's drone footage of him with his friends at the top of the mountain, having led them there. And then it cuts back to the shower scene again. And then he puts down the bottle, and it's like Irish Spring, I think it is called.
Irish Spring, yeah.
So we don't have that in the UK, but you guys obviously have it. And immediately it's like, oh, wow, that was done in 15 seconds. I saw the whole 3 acts come together. And it's like, so it's, you kind of seen those 3 acts, but like the second act was more a case of like showing the values and what they stand for. So that they stand for not running around a track, like on a athletics track. They're running in the middle of the woods with their friends. And so it's like companionship is really important. Belonging to a part of a group is really important to them. So there's all these like very subtle things that are happening, and it's at one with nature as well.
There's the adventure, there's freedom in there too. Yeah,
exactly. And so it's all these like subtleties that are being drawn out of you, but you don't realize all of it. You just watch the video and you think, yeah, I kind of like that. That's cool. I want to buy that shampoo. You don't know why, but we are able to break it down, look at the psychology of it, and be like, that's what's happening. That's why they're showing all these scenes, because that's what we all want. And we don't realize it. And so we just like numb to the actual messaging, or we don't kind of pick it up. But all of a sudden we're in the supermarket and we end up buying that style of that brand of shampoo, so it works very well.
you make that connection again. I think the brains in this is as you understand the stuff more and more, you start to look at ads differently, right? You start to look at the television commercials and even like YouTube videos and everything else differently. Hey, Tom, listen, really appreciative of your time. This was an amazing interview. I can't wait to get you back here. In closing, I want to ask you a question. So Dan Kennedy used to say that the biggest group of people that he used to try to have to convince was the business owners who thought this style of marketing would not fit for my business. And I kind of get the sense of that there's people who think the same when it comes to YouTube ads or Facebook ads or anything like that, right? They're saying, hey, well, I sell this type of a product, it's not going to work. Or I'm in this type of an industry, it's not going to work. Or, some of my audience are writers and authors and Kindle publishers. They may think that these types of ads don't work. What would you say to that individual? Like, can you sell almost anything with a YouTube ad?
So the actual creative stuff that we've been talking about, that's universal. It has to be done in a different style and make sure it's on brand and that type of thing. Like what we've been talking about here works perfectly. But the platform of YouTube isn't suited for every business. You got to do much better on YouTube if you're going B2C. So you're going to like consumers, not trying to advertise to big businesses. You're better off in like LinkedIn, for example, there. Or if you're trying to specialize on a type of group of people that aren't easy to target. That's sometimes a bit more vague, that one. Like trying to get in front of entrepreneurs on YouTube is not so easy compared to if you want to get in front of like surfers, because there's channels dedicated to surfing. There's channels dedicated to entrepreneurs and things, but it's just not like if you had like a marketing product, it's not easy to target your audience. It's better to say like, hey, I'm targeting people that want to start a business, because there's loads of that content on YouTube. So it's trying to be very specific with your audience and their desire and their wants and their needs. And if you know you have a product that solves one of those things, then the creative we've been talking about will work insanely well. It's just that not every business is suited to YouTube. That's my only thing about that.
Very cool. Very cool. Hey, this has been an amazing interview. As I said earlier, Tom, it was great having you here. I got a lot of my own personal questions answered as well. For people that are looking to kind of follow you online, or if they're looking to hire your company, as I said, we just hired you guys, and I'm excited to see what that partnership is going to look like. Where can they find you? Where can they find you online?
Yeah, so we have 2 locations. We've got tombreeze.com, which is where I do a lot of my training and some of our mastermind stuff and things like that. And then we have viewability.co.uk, which is the agency site. So you can come there, and we do have training there as well, like under the Viewability brand, and a book there as well. So there's a whole heap of different things you can get from viewability.co.uk. But yeah, those are the 2 locations, the best to find me at.
Very cool. And you have a book available there too, I believe. Guys, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, make sure that you go in and visit Tom's sites. I'm going to put the links in the show notes as well as in the description here. They are truly worth it. Actually, Tom, that's how I found out about you. My CMO, who actually was on the call with us, he had gone through your course, he had read your book, and he had become like this fan. And he's like, oh my God, we got to go in and set up this call. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. And we ended up setting it up. You weren't the easiest guy to get in contact with either, as far as availability, because I know everyone's trying to get to you. So we set up the call. And then, like I said, once we got on it, I was like hooked. I'm the hardest sell ever. Right. So, and that's
what you think. Yeah.
It's intentional, right? Yeah. Right. It's like the tough guy who wants to be the tough guy, right? But he's the teddy bear. So, but it was an amazing call. So guys, go in, pick up his book. At the minimum, make sure you pick up the book, right? Pick up the course. Even if you want to do a lot of his stuff yourself. And then if you want to take it to the next level, reach out to his team. And I guarantee you won't be disappointed. Tom, again, once again, I appreciate having you here. Folks, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, make sure you go in, subscribe, get a chance to win some of these amazing prizes like the Apple Watch that we have here. We just shipped out like 3 or 4 of these things. We've got the AirPods. And then we have MacBook Airs that are here. My daughter's actually been clamoring for one of these things. So you guys better go in and comment, subscribe, like, share before she breaks into my office. I'm going to be doing some traveling tomorrow and gone for a couple of days. So who knows if they'll be here when I get back. And then we have these Amazon gift cards that we give away as well in denomination $25 up to $500. So every week we're giving this stuff away. 4 ways that you can be entered to win. You can go in and subscribe, comment, definitely let me know what you thought about this interview. Did you think it was as great as I thought it was? Like, and then share. Tom, with that said, have a great day. And I'm actually going to go and shoot some of those video ideas that we talked about. So I'm going to go put that into practice immediately.
Nice. That sounds good.
Have a good one.
Perfect.
Bye.
Cheers.